So, what's up, everybody? It's BSP. Yeah, my voice is a little off today. I should be okay. I don't have a cold or nothing like that. It just, I'm stuck in my throat and drink some water, trying to clear it up. But I just got off of a nice phone call with a really good friend of mine here in Japan. His brother's doing really well in the Tokyo area. And we were talking about how people like to make other people in Japan feel good. Foreigners, not just people, foreigners. So I'm going to call this video, People Pleasers Get No Respect in Japan. Okay? Now, some people may get roused by this, by what I'm about to say. And you know me, I told you guys, I'm just coming from my experience in Japan. I'm not blowing no smoke up nobody's ass. I'm telling you people straight up what's going on and what I've seen and what I have seen and what I have experienced. Now, when I first got to Japan, I was really young and I was like really interested in the culture, as I always am. But the big thing is I was out there trying to prove to people that, hey, I know how to speak some Japanese. So the little Japanese that I knew, the konnichiwa, the konbanwa, the ohayo gozaimasu, I remember when I got here and I would throw that out there because I got off on the reactions I got from Japanese. It was sort of like putting the key in the door and you turn the key, oh, it's working. So like I said, you go out, ohayo gozaimasu. Hey, they said something back to me. It's working, right? So you go through that phase. And then I went through that phase, and I went through as I started learning more Japanese, I started being overly concerned about what other foreigners knew over me. So because, I was young and competitive and had an intense nature. So, I was always competing with people at work. So I kind of carried that over to my, to private life. And, everybody I noticed that not just me, but all the foreigners was like, how much Japanese do you know? Oh, you don't know this, but I know that. Oh, you don't know this, but I know that. So I'm better than you. It was really competitive. It was so funny. We were all young. We were all competing with each other. And, and eventually, some people would kind of, you can kind of tell how much Japanese they knew. And then you could kind of tell the ones that got stuck at a certain level. And then you tell the ones that just wasn't going to go anywhere no matter what. Then, they may have known a few words. Some people were focusing more on like vocabulary, but they didn't give a damn about sentence structure, particles, any of those types of things. They didn't care if they were speaking polite Japanese or not. It was just all kind of stuff that they just didn't care about, right? So you get people up here sometimes in my comments throwing all this shit at me like, hey, did you know this, you know that, you know that? And I'm here to say, I'm today, after going through all that, fast forward to 30 years or like I said, almost 4 decades later on dealing with Japan, I'm not a people pleaser. I haven't been a people pleaser in a long time. Okay? And I quite frankly don't give a damn how much Japanese somebody else knows, because I don't speak Japanese with foreigners anyway. I only speak Japanese with Japanese. So if you're the kind of person that's going to hang out and you're like, you want to sit up there and throw Japanese around me, that doesn't impress me. I don't give a shit about that. Okay? I know what I know. I know I'm fluent in Japanese, and I know that I've communicated really well with Japanese, and I've gone through phases of using Japanese. Like I said, I started off trying to people please everybody, right? First, I would start off with trying to get reactions. Then I started to people please. So I was like going there like, oh my God. And then every time I saw Japanese, I'm like, oh, konnichiwa. Hello, how are you? I was going through that phase. But now, fast forward all the way up to now, this year. And you know me, I'm going to throw some examples out there. So give you an example of what I mean by people pleasing and how it can really affect your life, and it can really bring a disadvantage to your family. So I'd say about, my son is 11 now, about 6.5 years ago, my son was in preschool. My wife had put him into a Japanese preschool in where we lived in Washington State. I think the school was near Tacoma, Washington. And I remember they had a graduation ceremony there. My son was graduating. Yeah, he graduated at almost 5. before he went to kindergarten. And, you know, we'd met some parents along the way. But I hadn't met everybody. But for some reason that day, well, not for some reason, because of graduation, they had the mothers and fathers were able to show up, right? So I seen this guy. And, you know, you could tell he was a people pleaser because he was sitting up there throwing his Japanese around with everything. Every chance he got, he was throwing Japanese around like he was the man, right? Even though he was sounding like a woman. Because a lot of Japanese people pleasers, they sound like the women they're with. They sound like the wives of their girlfriends speaking Japanese. They don't understand the difference between masculine and feminine Japanese. They're just throwing that feminine Japanese all over the place. It sounds so cute and pretty, but they're like, hey, I can speak it, right? So he was throwing that feminine Japanese around. And I was like, okay, he's speaking it, but he sounds like a bitch, right? Because it was true. And I told you guys, I'm from Philly. I'm going to tell you straight up what's going on. I'm not blowing no smoke to my ass. I'll tell you what the deal is, right? So he did sound like a bitch. And so he was speaking and throwing all over the place. And then I didn't really pay too much attention to that. But what I did pay attention to was he had 2 children in that preschool. And we were all sitting around eating because they had, had the buffet set up for everybody. You know, Japanese are very hospitable. They're going to make sure there's enough food to eat. And so we're there sitting down. And next thing you know, I hear him talking to his kids in Japanese. Now, mind you, they're living in the States. He's some worker in the States. But he's speaking to his kids in Japanese. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, you're not really helping your children out here. Because your children live in the States. The mom can speak all the Japanese she wants to your children. You need to be speaking English. But hey, that's his life. That's what he wanted to do. Go for it. But me, ever since my son was born, and ever since my daughter was born, I only use English with my kids. When my son speaks to me, he uses English. When my 2-year-old daughter speaks to me, she uses English. And it's really good because she'll turn around and say the same thing to my wife in Japanese. Or she'll speak to my wife in Japanese, and she'll turn around and say the same thing to me in English. Yes, that's how she talks. That's exactly how she talks. You know? So she'll look at my wife and say, Mama, kore nani? And then she'll look at me and say, Daddy, what's this? In the same breath. That's why my children are bilingual. That's how you keep them bilingual. If you're speaking, you're trying to impress. This guy was so busy trying to impress everybody that he even threw his Japanese on his kids. He didn't realize it. He was trying to impress his kids. But it wasn't helping them out at all. And the same kind of people like that, when now living in Japan, I see the same kind of people. I see them walking around, throwing the Japanese around like they own it, like they're trying to compete with the next foreigner, speaking just loud enough so Japanese can hear them really well from other places, and foreigners can hear them. Look, I'm speaking Japanese. Can you hear me? Look, I'm speaking Japanese. It's to the point to where it's fucking sickening, because it is. It's annoying, especially to other foreigners like myself who don't give a shit how much Japanese you speak or what you're trying to do. But you see these guys. And when I first started, when I was still in my people-pleasing days, I noticed that they would always try to out-people-please me. Like I'd go in a place, and then they'd come in later speaking like they're acting like they were knowing or thinking that they spoke more Japanese than me or knew about Japanese than me, and they would show it off. Oh, and you can see him with the little girlfriend, and then he doesn't know how to do this. He can't say. Can he speak Japanese? He don't know this, because they all want to show off and think that they know more than you. That's their way of feeling, I don't know, good. But to me, people like that have a very low self-esteem. A very low self-esteem. And here is what I'm going to tell you about people pleasers. They don't get the respect in Japan that they think they're getting respect. They don't get the respect that they think they're getting. Okay? Yeah, somebody might, because they also, people pleasers want to hear somebody say, ooh, your Japanese is so good. Ooh, they want to hear that all day long. That's all they want to hear. And that stokes their ego. Yes, I can speak Japanese. Did you take the JLPT test? Did you do this? Did you do that? The only reason why you need a JLPT test is if you're trying to get a permanent residence without being married to a Japanese with a special skill, number one. And number two, if you're trying to get a job. Okay? I don't need to take the JLPT test to prove that I speak Japanese because I have no reason. I don't have to work for nobody, and I don't have to worry about living in Japan. If you know what I mean, it's not going to help me live in Japan. I'm already in a situation where I can live in Japan. I don't need a JLPT. But you get guys up there, what's your JLPT level? Did you study this? I studied that. Who gives a shit? I'm not interested in that. I'm not curious at all. And I'm never going to speak Japanese with a foreigner, ever. I never speak Japanese with foreigners. You speak English, I speak English. Why am I speaking Japanese to you? Why? You're not Japanese. Why do I speak Japanese to you? Okay? So, or what I want to rephrase that, your mother tongue is not Japanese. Because we have all kind of people in Japan that don't look Japanese, but they're Japanese and they speak Japanese. So yeah, I can speak Japanese with that person. Because that person is from Japan and they are a Japanese national and that's their mother tongue. That's their first tongue. But am I going to speak Japanese with a Brit, a bloke, a Kiwi, an Aussie, a Canadian, American? Hell no. I don't need to. They understand English. They know what I'm talking about. So, and those people they really don't get the respect here. Japanese will look at him. You see the guys on the side thinking, damn. You can tell they look at him like, he does sound like a bitch. And quite frankly, he acts like a bitch too. He's acting like a woman too. And what you need to understand is this. I'm not saying women are bad. Women are not bad. I'm not saying that it's bad to be a woman, because it's not. What I am saying, though, is if you are a man, why are you speaking like a woman? That's what I'm saying. Why in Japan? Because, and what I mean by that is, it's because it has masculine and feminine. There's a way a man speaks, and there's a way women speak. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying nobody's no better than the other. I'm just saying that we each have our own way of speaking, just like Spanish. They have their own way of speaking. They have the masculine and the feminine. Okay? So why would you do that? Why would you do that? Well, they do it because they're only spending their time mostly around their girlfriends and their wives. And that's it. And their wives' mothers. That's what they spend all their time with. That's it. So, and they don't, like I said, it's hard to make friends here. You can make associates, but it's hard to make friends here. So they don't have any male friends. They don't spend a lot of time with other males, Japanese. So they're walking around sound that way. And Japanese men are looking at them like, ooh, okay, yeah. And they're already knowing that they got power over them. See, when you people please in Japan, you don't realize that now when you come across other men around you, that you are now the lowest in the pecking order. You are the weakest in the link. They will look at you like you're weak. They will look at you like they can take full advantage of you. So they consider you to be weak. People look at Japanese men, and there's an ego thing here. Trust me, Japanese men just has an ego just like the next male around the world. They have egos, okay? They're in their own country, and they believe that they have the right to everything, and they feel like they have the right to be over any foreigner in their land. Trust me, that's how they are, okay? That's how a lot of Japanese men are, because it's a man thing. They got the egos. They got to feel that way, right? A lot of younger guys are in the situation where they may be, transitioning or in a confusion state where, okay, because I see a lot of Japanese men looking like women over here, like they're all prettied up and everything, even though they're men, but they got the makeup on looking like women and everything. That's their thing, and that's what you want to do, fine. But they still speak like men, right? So here you get these people pleasers. And what I mean too is they come in and they'll go and like I give you a good, you know me, I got a lot of good examples because I got the experience. So when my wife and I and my family, we drive up to Niigata City. Niigata City is about a 2-hour drive from where we live. On the way, we always use the expressway, the toll road, right? So the Kosokudo. So you basically pay to get on, right? And it costs us 2,600 yen, 2,610 yen. Okay, Nissan Ropyakuju yen to get off at the Kosokudo in Niigata, right at the exit, right? So I usually take another way. To go to the airport, it costs me like another 100 yen or whatever. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Now, here's what I'm saying. So each time we stop at this place called Yoneyama, we love the Yoneyama service area. They have service areas along the way. The service areas are clean. You got food to eat. You got a lot of vending machines to get drinks out of. You got it all. You got little small omiyage shops. You have it all, right? Or even a restaurant or two. Starbucks maybe in some of them. So we go to this one in Yoneyama. Now, the other day, we were going in there. And, I got my wife, my kids, because it's over. And you see a lot of more families in there with wife and kids, right? I rarely see foreigners in there because, foreigners usually take the train. A lot of them don't have cars here, right? So I rarely see them. But, so I walk in, so they see a foreigner, right? So they don't see that many foreigners. And they're expecting me to be a people pleaser. But I'm not a people pleaser. For example, when I'm going in the bathroom, when you're in Japan, sometimes when you pass by people, if it's really going to inconvenience them, you say, oh, sumimasen, and you go by, right? But when I'm walking in the bathroom with other men, and, sometimes you might run into a guy, what you're supposed to do is move your hand in the direction you're going and just bow at the same time and keep going, right? And that's it. You don't have to say sumimasen, nothing like that. You just go like this. Like, that's what I do. I just see him and say, oh, and I just keep going. And I don't stop. I'm going. You see me, I'm going. I'm not going to wait for you. You see, you just move over a little bit. You see me coming through. I already put my hand out there, right? But a people pleaser, what they will do is they will be bowing and sumimasen and gomenasai and all this. They overdo it to the point where it makes the man feel uncomfortable. Like, what is up with this guy? That's what it does. It makes you feel like, what's wrong with him? See, me, and that's the way you got to be in Japan. You don't walk in there trying to people please. I'm not disrespecting no other man in Japan or no other woman. I don't disrespect people here. But I am my own man. And I'm not people pleasing nobody. I go about my business like I would normally do anywhere in my life, any place in the world, because I'm me. Whether I'm in Saudi Arabia, whether I'm in the U.S., Japan, Switzerland, Spain, wherever, I'm still Tony, and that's what I'm going to be, right? So I walk in there, and I just do what I got to do. And you don't see me smiling at people. If I don't know them, I'm not smiling at these people. I don't know these people. Japanese think that's weird. Why are you smiling at me? Do I know you? Are you a person that I know? My neighbor? Have I seen you somewhere else? So people pleasers are smiling and bowing and, yes, a bossin'. That's what we say back in the States. Yes, a bossin', all over the damn place. No. I go in there because I'm the man. When I walk into anywhere in the world, I'm the man to myself. I'm the man. If anything, you got to be bowing to me. If that's the attitude I have, I don't expect that. But I'm just saying, I'm being my own man because I'm a man just like you, a man just like the next man. You a man, you a man, you a man. I'm a man and I'm also a son of a man. See, that's the way I be carrying myself. They see me out there with my wife and 2 kids. They already know, wait a minute, this man is taking good care of his family. They look at my kids. They see my kids look clean, dressed. They got good things. They don't have any holy shoes. Their shoes are clean. Their clothes are clean. They're dressed nice. My wife is beautiful. She's dressed nice. Not overly dressed. She's just wearing things to keep herself cool. Not walk around with makeup splattered all on her face, lipstick coming out of her ears. She's very conservative, but she looks nice, and that's the way it is. She's very practical. She don't need a Louis Vuitton bag and all this other bullshit. She's out there doing her thing. And they look at me and they see a solid family. They see a man responsible for a family. And that's it. I don't need people asking me about my job, asking me, hey, can you help me out with this English problem I got? Are you an English teacher? Hey, can you throw some English? My little boy, look, my junior high school kid speaks English. Hey, say hello. I'm not here for show. I'm not here for you, is what my attitude is. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm walking into an establishment. I am a man, and when I gotta get by you, I'll go like this. If for some reason you can't see me, then I will say, sumimasen. You look around, and my hand is right there. You see me going through. Okay? When I walk by these men, these people, I'm not sitting up there smiling and, no, I'm walking by them just like a regular person. Okay, yep. I know where I'm going. Oh, I'm getting ready to go to the store. I gotta go get me something to eat. I'm walking by, and I know where I'm going. I'm not sitting up there waiting for them, trying to people please, making them feel good. What I'm saying is this. I am beyond trying to impress a Japanese person in Japan. I don't need to impress Japanese. I'm set up here in Japan. I am living better than a lot of people in Japan. A lot of people. In fact, in honesty, and looking at the numbers that I have, I'm living in the top 3% in Japan. Yes, me and my family are living in the top 3% of wealthy people here in Japan. So I don't have to impress nobody in Japan. Nobody. I don't have to impress them. These people pleasers will walk around like they have to impress. Like, oh my God, oh my goodness, oh, let me help you, or let me do this, let me do that. No. You see them out there, people might fall, or we're walking in Shinjuku and you see a woman laying on the street, on the sidewalk, and they don't realize that she's just drunk out of her ass. That's why she's there. And then you see some people coming up, but they want to go and be the hero. Oh my God, what happened? Are you okay? Is everything okay? I just walk by and look. Okay, yeah, she's fine. She's just drunk, and I keep going. I'm not the hero here. I'm not trying to please nobody. But then people get like, well, Japanese are so cold. They don't want to help somebody when they're hurt. Then they're hurt, they're not helping. That's not what they do. If you see somebody that's really in some serious trouble, yeah, you call the police, say, excuse me, officer, there's a guy laying on the street, looks like he's bleeding from the side, he looks like he's hurting, can you send somebody? That's his job to make sure that's not my job. Yeah, it's not. Now, yeah, if there's nobody else around and that person is really in some serious need of help, I will ask them if they're okay. I'm not just going to go up to help. My first question is, are you okay? And if they're not, then I say, do you want me to call the police or call the ambulance? That's what you do. You're not here to be a hero. So people pleasing, but people please like, oh my goodness, I got to help out. I give you an example. One guy was here from England. He was in Kumamoto. And this old lady was crossing the street or something. And he saw she was going to have a hard time pushing all that stuff. So he decided to help her out. Next, this lady's like, okay, give me your phone number. Here's this, I want to come. He had to go through all that shit. I would have been like, hey, you're crossing the street, you're on your own because you put yourself in that spot. I mean, especially when you see them walking. If you see them, if they fall, they drop something in the middle of the street and you see cars coming, yeah, you help them out because they got to get across the street. But if they're already pushing themselves across the street, they already figured out a way to get themselves across the street, what are you going to do but make things more complicated for you and for them? So you mind your business and you stop trying to people please and you go about your merry way. That's what I mean. See, people need to understand, in Japan, it's all about power. You see a lot of people going to work here in Japan, a lot of foreigners, and the boss is like, you call me the boss, you call me this. Those people feel so good because they have some sort of control over somebody. They have some sort of power over somebody, so they feel empowered. But, in Japan, they actually have laws against power harassment here, right? But there's so many people here in Japan who have low self-esteem that they need to have some sort of power over somebody. And that's why I gave you that video on information is the true power in Japan, the real power in Japan. Because if they got no knowledge over you, they feel like they got power over you. They want to know that they have power over the next individual. Well, for me, nobody has power over me, no matter what. They can't come to me and be like, hey, you do this, you do that. And I give you another example of people who try to people please and what I don't do. So like we belong to a soccer club because my son plays soccer, right? All these women in there, most of the women in there, they work. So you see them when they get off work when my son's practice at 7 at night. When I drop them off or my wife drop them off at practice, these women are exhausted. Their kids haven't eaten dinner yet. They don't eat until after 9 o'clock because that way they can get them fed, right? Because then they can do something. But they don't probably go to bed till 1. They got to wake up till at 6, 7 in the morning, get their husbands ready for work, and then they got to go to their part-time jobs too. These women are struggling. They're tired. And some people know that my wife don't work. Well, I told my wife before we got in this club, I said, look, I'm telling you right now, nobody is going to volunteer you for nothing. You are not required to do anything for anybody. Nobody's going to say, hey, can you go pick this up for me or pick that up? Yeah, we got our responsibilities where, once a month we have to take care of the equipment and whatnot. That's just parent stuff that comes around. You get that. But I'm talking about some other mom asking her, hey, look, I know you don't have to work, so can you do this because I know you got time? I told my wife, no, that don't work with me. Because I did not set my wife up not to work for her to be used by somebody else. No, I'm not a people pleaser. My wife doesn't have to work because I set that up. Because I created this life for my wife not to have to work. My wife doesn't have to do a damn thing she don't want to do. And besides, if my wife has to work, that means somebody else is telling me what to do in my house. And that ain't going to happen. I run things in my house, period. That's the way my house is run. Is my wife a maid? No. My wife is not a maid. We both do a lot of things in our home. But all I'm saying is, but when it comes down to somebody trying to get involved in my house to disrupt my harmony, I'm not a people pleaser. I'm not going to let that happen. But you get those people pleasers out there, when they get to those clubs, they're like, yo, baby, hey, see if somebody needs you on this particular day. See if they need you on this. Volunteer for this, volunteer for that, because they want to please every damn body. And next thing you know, they don't have any time with their wife. Next thing you know, they're complaining about their wife coming home late. Next thing you know, they're complaining about every single solitary thing. And that is not why you want to be a people pleaser. Okay? So with that said, that's what I'm going to close this off on. People pleasers get no respect. Japanese will respect you for being who you are. They give me a lot of respect because I am the way I am. That's why I get the respect. I'm a man just like you are. Like I always look at people. They see a man coming. When they see me walking down the street, they see me going to an establishment, they see a man coming there. They know that I am a man, another man. I'm not a bitch coming down there. I'm another man coming down there, taking care of my man business, doing what I got to do for my life and my family. I'm not here to please you or anybody else. And that's you people like that, like me, we get the respect. So, like I said, people pleasers get no respect in Japan, and you need to understand that part of Japanese culture. This is BSP. I'm out, and I'm not a people pleaser.